Amid the annual sea of generic slop, there are those movies which dare to push the envelope, test boundaries, and make everybody say, "What the ever-loving hell did I just watch?" And the next year or so of cinema is no exception, if these upcoming movies have anything to say about it. These are the sorts of bold, provocative movies that executives are generally loath to greenlight for fear that they won't generate a profit. Yet each certainly has the potential to be one of the most divertingly entertaining and unforgettable movies on the upcoming slate. So, with that in mind, I'm Ellie with What Culture, here with 10 insane movies you won't believe are getting made. Number 10, Kung Fury 2. Remember Kung Fury? David Sandberg's short film homage to cheesy 80s action flicks was released online in 2015 to enormous critical acclaim and viral success, and to date is closing in on 40 million views on YouTube alone. The short's popularity allowed writer, director and star Sandberg to secure funding for a feature-length sequel, Kung Fury 2, which wrapped shooting in September 2019, with a shockingly stacked cast including Michael Fassbender, Arnold Schwarzenegger and David Hasselhoff. However, post-production ultimately ended up being halted due to a lawsuit with investors, leaving the film's status up in the air for years, prompting many fans to question if it would ever be released. But fear not! Earlier this year, the sequel was finally given a November 17th release date, suggesting that the legal red tape has been cleared and fans will soon be able to feast their eyes upon it. Number 9, Nightbitch. Nightbitch, based on Rachel Yoder's 2021 black comedy novel of the same name, stars Amy Adams as a stay-at-home mother who discovers that she can turn into a dog. Perhaps unsurprisingly for such left-field material, Nightbitch is being produced to release direct to streaming service Hulu, in turn foregoing a theatrical bow. All the same, with the sheer wealth of talent and pedigree behind it, no pun intended, this could very well be one of the most diverting comedy horrors in recent memory. There's no release date currently set, but given that it wrapped shooting almost a year ago, it's safe to assume that we're not too far off. Number 8, El Conde. El Conde, aka The Count, isn't merely a surreal, heightened biopic, but a dark comedy horror film which reimagines Chilean dictator Augusto Pinochet as a 250-year-old vampire who seeks death. Yep, you heard me right. The recently released trailer does a fantastic job selling the sheer WTF factor of the premise, as well as gorgeous monochrome visuals and a savagely satirical approach to the dictator's life. Nobody's going to expect a rigid history lesson from this movie, but a fascinating, hilarious and blood-soaked sliver of alt history? Absolutely! In addition to the extensive awards hype, being marked as a contender for the Best International Film Oscar, El Conde lands on Netflix on September 15th, ensuring that there's barely any time left to wait at all. Number 7, Death of a Unicorn. If Death of a Unicorn might sound like a fancifully allegorical title for an art house drama, nope, it's quite literal. A24's Ari Aster produced dark comedy stars Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega as a father and daughter who hit a unicorn with their car and bring it to the father's CEO boss, who attempts to exploit its magical curative properties for their own gain. But of course, things aren't quite what they seem. I mean, that is one hell of a premise, alright, and even with a first-time filmmaker at the helm, it's tough not to be intrigued by such an out-there setup. And seeing Paul Rudd, of all actors, sinking his teeth into something bleaker and more challenging should certainly be a sight to behold, while Jenna Ortega will surely continue to cement her rep as one of the most in-demand actresses of her generation. Number 6, Barney. Barbie's mesmerising box office success has prompted Mattel to redouble their efforts to produce more than a dozen films based on their various toys and products, effectively building a, wait for it, Mattel Cinematic Universe. I know, it's cheesy, I'm so sorry. Now, it does sound horribly cynical and gross, and it is. Yet there's one project among the lot which can't help but raise some eyebrows. Maybe for the better, maybe for the worse, I don't know, it depends who you ask. In October 2019, it was first announced that Daniel Kaluuya would be working on a Barney movie, with Mattel having themselves called it surrealistic. They also said the film would have an A24-esque vibe, and while likely not R-rated, would attempt to tap into the anxieties of 30-something adults who grew up with Barney the dinosaur. I'm getting flashes of Blood and Honey. Why do we need to turn lovable children's characters into horror films? Now, evidently this doesn't sound like a film that's trying to have its cake and eat it too, like Barbie, which nimbly managed to appeal to kids and adults while both critiquing Mattel and making them a shed-load of money. Nobody was asking for an adult-skewing Barney movie, and yet it's certainly one of the most fascinatingly off-kilter films in development right now. I'm very intrigued by this. Let us know. Do you think we need a Barney film for adults? Is that necessary? Number 5, Thanksgiving. When Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez's schlocky 2-foot Grindhouse was released back in 2007, there were plans for many of the fake trailers within it to be expanded into features. And now, over 15 years on, Eli Roth has finally gotten around to making a full-fat horror film based on his memorable short, Thanksgiving. The original Grindhouse short touted it as a hilariously sleazy slasher film set at Thanksgiving, parodying seasonal horrors like Halloween and Black Christmas, but when years passed without the feature gaining any traction, it simply seemed destined to never happen. And yet, shooting finally took place earlier this year with Addison Rae and Patrick Dempsey starring. While few will be expecting an all-timer genre romp, if Roth can lean back into his ickiest instincts as a filmmaker, he'll hopefully deliver a divertingly nasty slice of fun near year's end. And Thanksgiving will release on November 17th. Number 4, Unfrosted, the Pop-Tart story. Even with the bizarre current boom of corporate biopics, it's tough not to laugh at the prospect of a movie based on the origins of the noble Pop-Tart. I mean, it sounds less like a real film than it does an SNL parody, right? But Jerry Seinfeld finally found something more unhinged than the B-movie to attach his name to, as he's currently deep in post-production on the hilariously monikered Unfrosted, the Pop-Tart story. Now, the film takes place primarily in 1963 and chronicles, and now don't laugh, the race between Kellogg's and post-consumer brands to bring a breakfast pastry to market. Yep, this is going to be a film. Now, to be fair to Seinfeld, he's currently roped in one hell of a stacked ensemble cast, which includes the likes of Melissa McCarthy, Amy Schumer, Hugh Grant and Peter Dinklage, to name but a few. Even accepting it as a comedy though, it does sound like a joke movie that would never actually get made. And yet it is a real film that is due to drop on Netflix in the coming months. Crazy. Number 3, Eddington. Ari Aster's next project, Eddington, will mark another stark genre shift for the filmmaker as he endeavours to produce a contemporary set western, which, get this, takes place during the COVID-19 pandemic. Aster has described it as a western noir dark ensemble comedy set in a fictional Arizona mining town. And though details beyond that are pretty scarce, Aster is apparently hoping to reunite with his Beau is Afraid star Joaquin Phoenix for the project. Now, it remains to be seen when production will actually begin due to the ongoing strikes, but it's seemingly Aster's top priority. Now, given that the Western genre is practically dead in 2023, a director of Aster's caliber and distinct personality just might give it the energy injection it so sorely needs. Number 2, Dream Scenario. Nicolas Cage has never met a deranged project he could bring himself to turn down, and the latest entry into his wonderfully diverse filmography is set to be A24's new dark comedy, Dream Scenario. Cage, rocking another surprising hairdo, plays a professor by the name of Paul Matthews, who becomes an overnight celebrity after he starts appearing in everybody's dreams, for some reason. The insanity of mankind collectively seeing Nicolas Cage in their dreams and nightmares speaks for itself, and married to a grimly hilarious satire of fame should make this one of the most diverting films of the coming year. Dream Scenario will premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival ahead of its November 10th theatrical release, so keep your eyes peeled. Number 1, Community the Movie. A movie spin-off of a beloved TV show might not sound particularly insane or outlandish on paper, but given that Community fans have been loudly shouting the series slogan 6 seasons and a movie for well over a decade now, seeing it finally come to fruition is absolutely crazy. The sitcom's 6th and seemingly final season aired way back in 2015, after which fans questioned if and when creator Dan Harmon would finally get around to making the prophesized loop-closing film. Development stalled for years, but following Community's sudden surge in popularity after debuting on Netflix at the start of the pandemic, momentum once again picked up. And last September, streaming service Peacock confirmed that they'd greenlit Community the movie, with Harmon then announcing that the majority of the main cast was set to return as well. Now, shooting was originally set to begin this past June, yet ultimately delayed by the WGA and SAG-AFTRA strikes, with production now pushed to next year. All the same, knowing that it's finally happening, with the main bulk of the central cast involved no less, is truly surreal news in the best way possible. And there you have it. Let us know in the comments down below your thoughts on these upcoming films. Are you excited by them, or could you not really care less? Make sure while you're there that you hit that like and subscribe button and the notification bell as well, and head over to Twitter and follow us there. I can be found across various social medias just by searching Ellie Littlechild. I've been Ellie with What Culture. I hope you have a magical day, and I'll see you real soon.